Welcome to the Songwriter Connection podcast, where we look at the craft of songwriting through the eyes of the songwriter. Each week, we make a connection with a music maker, listen to their songs, and hear their stories. From Nashville, Tennessee, here's your host, Dave Lenihan.
Now, we've talked before. Yeah, we're in Nashville, and there's still people from out of the market that say, you live in Nashville? Yeah. You must love country music. Well, yeah, I do. But, the misconception is that it's all country music. And no, we're music city. And I hate genres, right? But all of them are represented very well in this town. And we have some of the best musicians in the world here in Nashville. No matter where you go, you're going to see amazing performances. If you think you're a guitar player, you think you're a player, come down here and see where the bar is, right? Yeah. But we're going to talk about country music today. And I mentioned on the podcast a few weeks back that Patty and I, my wife, we were driving to Cincinnati. And we tuned in B105, which I worked for years there in Cincinnati. And I hadn't listened exclusively to today's new brand of country in a long time. I listened to a lot of the Roots Radio and WMOT here in Nashville, and a lot of new up-and-coming artists and things. But we're listening, and I was really kind of shocked. Now, there's still some, and let me tell you, I'm not saying this is wrong, okay? Because there's great country artists out there. I dig Jelly Roll, and some people are just doing some really cool things. But there were songs where I just scratched my head. And I remember one in particular, and I don't remember the artist, doesn't matter, I don't remember the song, but I remember cranking it up and saying to Patty, if you didn't know you were listening to a country radio station right now, would you say that that's a country song? And so let's listen. And we're listening, and I can't find a single traditional instrument in it. It was track based, and it was extremely poppy. And she said, no. I said, well, what does make that country? And that became the thing. And I guess it's because the lyrical content, having to do with, that sort of lifestyle. That's not all like that. And I went into country music in 1980. And even back in that time, and before that, people were saying, country's getting too pop. It's just too pop for me. It ain't the same, And I think we're always going to have that. And I think it's good because every genre, if you will, has got to adapt and going to grow. And I think, and we've talked about this too, every artist grows and adapts. You're not the same artist you were 10 years ago, what you're doing today. You grow, you adapt, you evolve. And so that's kind of what it is, and that's what we preach all the time. And also, a recent story that we did on the Nashville Connection radio show was how Tootsie's here in Nashville, I don't know if it's still the case, but earlier this year, they banned steel guitars on their stage. And the reasoning was, our stages are not really that big. We can't accommodate a steel guitar anymore. And it's not all that popular in music today anyway. It's like, oh, break my heart. Come on, It's okay. I'll go over to Layla's then, or Robert's Western World, right? So anyway, but today we're going to talk about country music. And we have got one of the best here in this town, does true country music. His name is Scott Southworth. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Dave, I can't believe I'm at this legendary dining room table.
The Duncan Fife, right here.
I tell you what, I'm so excited. Thanks for having me, man.
We're excited about having you.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, folks, if you're listening right now on the day that it's published, it's the 24th of January, but we are recording this in advance. It's December 15th today. And last night at the Commodore Grill, Scott was part of an amazing show, a Christmas show with Mark Allen Barnett, who's a good friend, and a good friend to me, too, and all the songwriters in this town. Randy Brooks, who wrote Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer.
Right.
And what a show, bringing the house down. You had fun. You look like you're having fun.
It's always fun. It's always fun to play with those guys. And, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. It's like, how do you top that, Your song, you had a song that was absolutely incredible. And later on, I want to talk about it, maybe get you to play it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Christmas song, but it's that song, the Wooden Sheriff's Gun, is a great story. and we're going to get into that. But right now, I want to play something from your CD that came out in September.
Right.
Coming around to Honky Tonk again. Watch this video. You've got a lot of videos out there.
I do.
People can check you out on YouTube, different places. But let's play Granny Used to Honky Tonk. You get a little taste of our friend Scott Southworth today, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast.
Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Papa liked the whiskey and threw a little dice. Aunt Loretta did it, Uncle Buddy too. ride a ball, last call, howling at the moon. We carry the tradition our family taught us right. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Mama loved the dance and shake it left and shake it right. She flashed a little leg and drive the fellas wild. Daddy had a hot rod Chevy 63, burned rubber through the town until he wrapped it around the tree. He hung out with the rowdies, they cuss and smoke and fight. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Now she's knitting mittens and baking berry pie, but they said she was a real firecracker in her time. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. That ain't been done before. Since way back when some good old boys threw stardust on the floor. Our family trees are growing underneath the neon light. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Saturday tailgating party with the fam. Got dogs and burgers cooking, cold beer in a can. Sunday morning finds us all singing with the choir, sitting in the front pew catching hellfire. The Bible told me Jesus turned the water into wine. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Now she's knitting mittens and baking cherry pie, but they say she was a real firecracker in her time. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Now she's knitting mittens and baking apple pie, but they say she was a real firecracker in her time. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night. Granny used to honky tonk every Friday night.
Am I hearing a steel guitar in there?
There's still guitar. That's there.
You better believe it. Scott Southworth, that's why I wanted to play something from the new record, because that's a jam. You've got some amazing musicians on that record too, don't you?
Oh, man, yeah. The last several albums I've done, it's been Brent Mason.
Brent Mason.
Ohio fella.
If you don't know him, Google him. He's probably the best guitar player in town, isn't he?
Well, he's certainly the most recorded. I think he's even in the World Book of Records as being one of the most recorded guitarists.
And you've heard him. You may not know, but he's been on a lot of cuts.
Oh yeah, cuts. All of Alan Jackson's, all of everybody's in the 90s, 2000s. He was all over the place. And Duncan Mullins on bass, Scotty Sanders, several. What's the other one that I've used a lot on pedal steel? Mike Johnson, I've used him a lot. Just monsters.
And you on harmonica.
That was the first time. That's the first time in any of my Nashville recordings that I'd played. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We saw you play a little bit last night too.
I do. I'll play it out, but I used to play a lot more harmonica. So this I just felt like, what the heck? Let's put it in there.
I love harmonica. I never could get the hang of bending those notes. Now on a guitar you can just. What's the secret?
Well, the secret is, for me, I could never tell you how to bend a note.
That's what I always hear.
What I can tell you is, when I got my first harmonica and I drive around with it in Eugene, Oregon, Springfield, Oregon, I'm driving around and I had learned suck, blow, suck, suck.
Suck, blow, suck, suck.
Suck, blow, suck, suck.
Wow.
And that gives you the bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum.
Oh, blues.
And so I would drive all day going bum, 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 bum. And then one day I accidentally went bum, 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 wow, wow. And I'm like,
how did I do that?
My tongue did that. I get it now. And then I could figure out how to bend it. But to try to tell somebody, I don't know. I just tell them suck, blow, suck, suck over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden,
I never had anybody explain it that way.
Well, there you go. And it's probably a good reason for that. That's like a hashtag Me Too nightmare. But
you don't learn that on OnlyFans, right? No.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's it. Oh, cool. So we learned something new.
There you
all
go.
the time.
I'm here to help.
It's fantastic.
I'm here to help. Yeah.
Let's tell him a little bit about you. You came from the Pacific Northwest, living here in Nashville about 20 years.
Yeah.
Award-winning. He's had charting songs, especially big in Europe, and they still love country music in Europe.
There are definitely pockets of that world that love traditional country music. Thank God. More
independent cuts than Nashville has guitars. Country Music People Magazine's Indie Songwriter of the Year back in 2018. A long list of Male Vocalist of the Year, Pure Country Album of the Year. So, yeah, I mean, if you want country music today, it's out there, and we've got one of the best in Scott.
Well, and that's nice of you to say. And, you know, what's interesting to me is right now, the indie traditional country scene is so rich right now. There is not just here, but in Texas and other parts of the U.S. and Europe. I mean, I got a buddy named Ags Connolly from Europe that's put in England that just came out with a great album. But there's an embarrassment of riches in as far as just great country music out there. So I heard someone say this, complaining that there's no good country anymore. Is like standing in front of a Pepsi machine and being angry that there's no Coca-Cola. There's plenty of Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
You just
got nowhere to find
it. You got to stop looking in the Pepsi machine. And in our world, the Pepsi machine is corporate radio.
It is.
You know, and you know, God bless them. They're playing what they know is selling ads, and they got to do what they got to do. But there are plenty of indie radio stations, podcasts,
internet radio stations,
clubs that still play traditional country. So it's out there. You just have to work a little harder at it. But once you find it, they're everywhere. And the title track of the new CD, Coming Around to Honky Tonk Again, that song is, that whole point of that song is to name drop a bunch of these indie artists that I'm listening to right now that are just blowing my mind. And I just wanted to put something out there to say, hey, somebody's listening, and I am, and I love what you're doing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that song. And co-write on that one. Did you write that one?
No, that was just me.
Right,
that was just me.
Okay. So I like how you explained some of the process there. And anything else you'd like to say about it? Because we're all about the story behind the song.
Yeah. No, there really isn't. It was... I think what it was is, you know, Dale Watson.
Oh, yeah.
He does his chicken.
Well, not personally, but.
Yeah, he does his chicken, you know what, bingo every now and then in town. And, but I love him. But, I mean, the guy's, he's just one of the coolest looking guys out there. You know, he has the white pompadour and wears the leather and the collar up. And I'm just like, you know, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm never going to be that cool. And that's how the song started, you know. And then I just started thinking about all these other people that I listen to that I dig, and I just started putting them all into the song. Some of them have heard it and said they like it. Some of them, I don't know that they'll ever get to, actually, if it'll ever get in front of them. But yeah, I love shining a light on these other artists out there that are just knocking it out.
I love it too.
Yeah.
You've got your Larvae guitar.
I do.
They're your sponsors, right? One of your sponsors?
Yeah. I've been with them since 2007. I've been exclusively a Larrivee player.
They're beautiful guitars. They really are.
Yeah.
I laughed because the first bio I saw on you said I play I play Larrivee guitars and I like pie.
That's about it.
And I really
I
like
write
pie.
songs and that's
songs.
it. That's it. What else you want to know?
Favorite pie?
No.
No?
I'm non-denominational, and it really depends on the time of year. You know, I mean,
Sure.
I don't want a pumpkin pie in June.
No, me neither.
I want it in November. I don't want a lemon pie in December. No, I want pecan pie. So it just depends.
It just depends. Yeah.
But,
we had the Nashville Pie Holes here not too long ago. Well, a year or so ago. If you remember with them, Ben?
No.
That band? Oh, they're awesome. And they brought me pie.
Wow, you think I would have done that too, huh?
So now we're best friends.
Wow.
Ned Barkley and them. Anyway, Sky, get distracted. Coming around to Honky Tonk Again's new record. And let's hear the song.
You want me to do that?
Yeah,
Okay,
man,
sure.
Let's hear that.
I hear that Johnny Cash used to put a $20 bill in the guitar to get that. And I gotta. It's one of these days I'm going to get a $20 bill, and I'll try that. But anyways, the song goes like this. I guess it's true that I ain't cool like Dale Watson. I don't fill up tours like Tyler Childers can. It's okay if I can't wow that trendy Nashville crowd. I'm a coming around to honky tonk again. Yeah. Now Dallas Moore had Lucky Chucky, and man, they burned it up the road. Highway Queen will always be Nikki Lane. And old Sturgill tries it all. Hell, I bet he's had a ball. Me, I'm coming around to honky tonk again. Yeah, with me it's nothing new. Same old rhinestones on my suit, picking and grinning for the tip jar and a beer. Too damn old to be a star, I keep banging this guitar just as long as someone out there wants to hear. Now Jesse Daniel is hooking bass while he's out there kicking ass like Charlie Crockett with the ghost of old James Ham. They're all chasing neon dreams, playing roadhouse poetry. Me, I'm coming around to honky tonk again. Guitar would do something like this: bam bam, ba da ba bam bam, ba da ba bam, ba da ba bam bam. Down, 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 down. When my paper meets a pen, I go where I've always been. Another barroom tale of good love going wrong. Steady backbeat never fails when I hear them pedals wail. That music takes me back where I belong. Well, I hope you like your country music real, 'cause I ain't here to reinvent the wheel. That good old sound feels like a long-lost friend. Look for me in your hometown, we'll fire it up and tear it down when I come around to honky-tonk again. Hey, y'all want to hear some pop country? Well, you're barking up the wrong dang tree. Son, I'm coming around to honky-tonk again. I'm a-coming around to honky-tonk again. Yeah, coming round to honky-tonk again.
Scott Southworth, our guest on the Songwriter Connection podcast, live around the dining room table. But that's the title cut of the new CD, and I really suggest you pick it up.
Oh, I do too.
Amazing. It's out there everywhere. And check out the videos too. Is that the one that Dallas Moore joined you on the video?
No, Dallas joined me in the Granny Used to Honky Tonk.
Okay.
And now he and I wrote that song together.
Did you? Okay. I know him because from Cincinnati.
He's a Cincy fella.
Good artist.
But I got to know him from the Frank Brown festivals.
Yeah.
And so when I reached out to him, we were just hanging out one night, and I said, man, I got an idea for a song. I told him the idea, and he goes, "Yeah, man, I love it." So let's write it. And I said, "Okay." But, he plays like 315, 320 shows a year. It's incredible.
Yeah.
So we just did it over the phone.
Did you really?
Back and forth until we got it the way we liked it. And then I set up some studio time, and he came down in the week of Thanksgiving 2 years ago. He came in and recorded it with me. And I said, "Man, I love this. I think I want to do a video." "Yeah, man, just let me know." And so I set up the video, and he was there, and we had a great time with the video. And I always have fun with the videos. I really like finding interesting ways to show a song. Mm-hmm. And I'm also one of the cheapest sons of guns you'll ever meet. So I've always found ways to do it in a way that doesn't, because as an indie artist, there's plenty of people that are very happy to take your money.
Oh, yeah.
And way more money than you're ever going to make on your music. Mm-hmm. So I'm always finding ways to game that. And how do I do this without spending all of that money? And so that's probably the biggest fun for me, is finding ways to do it, because my goal is for it to look as professional and sound. I want everything to look and sound as good as it can.
Got to.
Without, when I was going to do my first video, I was talking to a guy who said he'd do it with me, do the video, film it, and he does a lot of record label videos. And I said, "What is it? What's the normal timeline?" And he goes, "Usually a couple of 18-hour days."
Huh.
And I said, "For a 3-minute music video?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Why?" Mm-hmm. And he said, "I don't know why it takes that long." I've learned why it takes that long. There's just a lot of fingers in the pie, So I said, "What if we could do it in 4 hours or less?" And he goes, "You can't do that." I said, "What if we could?"
Don't you love it when they say you can't?
Yeah. Oh, hold my beer.
Hold my beer.
So that's what I've done. None of my videos have taken, and most of them are done in 3 hours. Because I've mapped it all out. Mm-hmm. And I know exactly how I want it to work.
You do all the pre-production yourself.
I do all the pre-production. I give them a shot list, and we say go. Huh. And it's just shot. And then they edit it. I tell them where all the shots go on the same sheet. Mm-hmm. And but man, yeah. So it's been fun, and we've been able to do them. And I don't hire actors. I just get all my friends together and say, "Come on, dress goofy, and let's do some."
That's Mark Allen Barnett, one of them.
Mark Allen's been in most of them.
Is he?
He wasn't in this. He wasn't in Granny, but in most of my videos, he was in the first one, and he's made an appearance in quite a few of them.
That Granny one, I was watching that. I've seen it a couple of times, and it's a great video. You need to check it out. And all your videos are fantastic.
Thank you very much.
There's the guy on stage. Where is that film, by the way? Was it Clearwater Supper Club?
No, that was filmed at the Boondocks in Columbia, Tennessee.
Okay.
Right. A good deal of my videos have been filmed within about 5 minutes of my house. Okay. A neighbor's house, my house, the creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool. And you had your old partner in crime from the radio days playing like a pop country singer, Hino.
Yep, Hino.
I'm country, y'all.
Well, and that's what you were saying. What makes these songs country now? And it's a lot of it. It's that bound down. It's almost so many of them have the same.
Yeah.
And then it's just the lyrics are just telling you how country they are, but that's a hip hop. It's a hip hop rhythm and a beat,
Yeah. I'm country, y'all.
Yeah, I'm country, y'all.
Throw y'all in there,
Yeah, y'all. And put in Buttermilk Biscuit and Short Shorts and
Daisy
golden.
Daisy Dukes.
Daisy Dukes.
Boots and here you go.
There's half the song.
Sad, but it's true, right? And we're not saying it's wrong. Again,
I don't begrudge it.
To each his own,
each their own. And when I go to Europe, they really want me to really beat up on that music, and I go no, because if Luke Bryan and Jason Aldean were doing traditional country music, no one would want to see my old butt up there doing it. So let them do their thing, because it's given me the audience that still wants to hear that. So
Absolutely.
I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful.
I'll bet you are.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about Dallas Moore doing lots of dates all over, but you do too. You travel and you play shows. In fact, you're going to New Zealand here soon. Huh?
I am in February.
Yeah.
That's been a 3-year process, because they booked me originally 2020, and we all know what happened then, and it's just been one after another. But no, it's I've been traveling. I was just in Germany a couple of months ago. Wow. But I've toured in Ireland, Germany, Norway, Switzerland, Spain, France, England. I don't know if I already said Ireland. And that's all just since I turned 50. That's for me, the crazy thing is this all happened way later than you normally hear about this stuff happening.
And I don't think there's an age limit anymore. I really don't.
Well, there probably is, because
country.
I don't know how long someone can do all that traveling and stuff. Eventually, it's like, maybe I am a little.
You say that, but the Rolling Stones have a new record out.
Well, but the Rolling Stones have chefs and drivers and planners and when you're in indie and you're doing all that on your own, after a while it's like maybe I got a little bit more time in me, but yeah,
the new Stones,
which is, by the way, a great album.
It is a good album.
Diamond Hackney, such a good album.
The one with Lady Gaga's great.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, since you pulled the plug on this year, the best rock album of the year is Dolly Parton's. Have you heard her Rockstar album yet?
Why would you? I have heard it. Yes.
Oh man,
it's very Dolly-ish.
It is Dolly-ish. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would probably argue that I think the Stones is probably I probably prefer that rock album, but I love Dolly.
Yeah.
I've held hands with her. She's a
You've
sweet
held
lady.
hands with Dolly.
I've held hands with Dolly Parton.
Get out of here.
It's all true. It's all true. Yes.
Amazing. That's one I never met.
There you go.
Love to meet
her
her
sometime.
Go. So let me ask you this. Pacific Northwest. Is that where you grew up?
Yes.
In Oregon?
Yes.
So how, and I imagine you played in a lot of rock bands in your day. So
like rock and blues and reggae.
All kinds of music. Right?
Yeah. All kinds.
When did you first discover that, hey, country's the thing that you wanted to do?
Late. Very late. Actually, when I was about 19, I was in a rock band in Oregon, and I don't mean to brag, but we played at the Holiday Inn in Springfield quite often.
Well, there you go.
It's kind of a big deal.
And did they actually pay you?
They did. They did. And I had a mullet, and I was pretty full of myself.
If I could have hair, I would have a mullet.
Yeah.
To this day.
I was pretty full of myself, and anyways, I'd made a tape for a girlfriend of mine for Christmas of some songs that I'd written, and the band wanted copies of it, so I gave them copies of the tape. And one of them had their mom listen to it, and I don't know what happened, but I get a phone call. Hey, this guy wants to meet with you. Okay. When you're 19, I said, okay, whatever. And so I gave this guy a call, and he said, oh, yeah, I heard your tape, but come talk to me. Okay. And I go to this house on the Mackenzie River, biggest house I've ever seen.
Wow.
Big, beautiful house. And it's 2 p.m, and this old man comes out. Now, granted, when you're 19, 35 is an old man, right?
That's right.
So I don't know how old he was, but this old man came out at 2 p.m. wearing red silk pajamas. I look like Hugh Hefner or something. I'm like, what in the hell am I getting myself into?
Oh,
and we chatted for a while, and he took me downstairs, and his whole downstairs was this big, beautiful, I'd never seen a recording studio. Wow. And this was state of the art. And I go, who are you? And he goes, I'm just some guy. I just wrote some songs. But he goes, I've listened to your stuff, and, it's raw, but you need to go to Nashville, and I'll help you. And I'll introduce you to people, and, you go, and you need to go be a songwriter. And I was like, well, thank you, crazy man, in your silk pajamas at 2 p.m. And I never spoke to him again. I thanked him for his time, and so that was when I was 19. Years later, I'd given up. I'd quit music and then moved down to Southern California, and then saw an ad for a country band. And I said, I'd never done country. I've done every other genre. And I was looking for something, so I joined this band, auditioned, and they hired me.
Wow.
So that year was the first year I watched the CMA Awards.
Okay.
And I'm watching it, and they're doing the In Memoriam.
Yeah.
And this guy's face pops up.
Red silk pants guy?
The red silk pajamas guy. And the place goes into a standing ovation.
Wow.
And his name's Mickey Newberry. And now it's, a couple of decades later.
He's just a guy. That's what he said. I'm just a guy.
I have the internet, so I type in Mickey Newberry.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that I was so dumb when I was 19 years old. So
well, we all
move to, when I move here, one of the first people I meet with is a guy that's also from Oregon, grew up in a town much smaller than the town I grew up in. And we went out and had lunch, and I go, look, no offense, but how does a guy from Elmira get to Nashville? Mm-hmm. And the guy says, well, do you ever hear of Mickey Newberry? I said, yeah. And he proceeds to tell me almost verbatim the exact same story I just told you.
Oh, my.
But when he said, I'll move you up there, or, you move up there and I'll help you.
Yeah.
Tim Johnson said, okay.
Oh, my.
And Tim Johnson had a bunch of hits and George Strait cuts and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But so the difference was when Mickey Newberry said, you should go to Nashville and I'll help you. He said, okay. Mm-hmm. So there you go. But, I say...
But everything happens as it should, right?
It does, Dave, because I'm here to tell you, knowing who I was at 19, I would have drank myself into a stupor. Yeah. I would have alienated myself from anybody possibly that could have done something in this business for me. And so, no, I was meant to live my life and come here as I was approaching 40 and do my thing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you do it well.
I love it.
This new record is fantastic.
Thank
I
you.
want to talk more about it when we come back, and I'm going to talk you out of that great Christmas song. Okay. Yeah, even though it's past the Christmas season, but we've got to hear it. So don't go away. We'll be right back with Scott Southworth.
You're listening to the Songwriter Connection, connecting with music makers and hearing their songs and stories. Now back to the show with your host, Dave Linehan.
Scott Southworth is our guest. Coming around to Honky Tonk again is the new record. It's been out since September, and it's a really cool picture on the cover. You stepping onto, and that's a very famous bus, isn't it?
That is. There's a Green Hornet. That's Ernest Tubbs' tour bus, which is inside of a clothing store.
Yes,
the whole bus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So and the back end, that's a picture inside the bus.
That bus.
Yeah.
And I saw some of those other pictures. It's like reel-to-reel tapes in there. And,
inside the.
Yeah. So, and you're dressed to the nines. You always dress for shows. You've got some nice sport coats and things. You dress it. You dress in style.
Well, yeah.
And I love that.
I want to put on as much of a show as I can, you know.
And you do.
Yeah.
And you do. And I love your style that you've developed over the years. I always hate to ask the question, what are your influences, man? But I mean, in your voice, I hear everything from very traditional, but I can hear a touch of Keith Whitley, a touch of Dwight Yoakam. Mm-hmm. These heroes are yours?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who else?
Merle. Lefty Frizzell, big God. Lefty Frizzell fan.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson, Roger Miller.
Wow. All the legends.
Yeah, I mean, I love all of it, but I also love the Stones. Mm-hmm. And I had a song in one of my first albums where when I sat down with the band, I said, "This is if the Stones were doing a country song."
Nice.
So that's how we approached it.
And it's not a stretch. The Stones always put
the Stones did, sure.
They always did.
Yeah, Wild Horses, Honky Tonk Women.
Right.
Dead Flowers. Dead Flowers.
Yeah.
Oh, Dead Flowers. That was Graham Parsons, a song they did with him, didn't they?
I think so. I think you're right.
So.
What's the one, 27 red lights in her? I ran 27
Yeah, I mean, but they loved all that stuff. And I grew up listening to blues. I love Pine Top Perkins and Charlie Musselwhite and B.B. King and Buddy Guy, Sonny Boy Williamson. Chris Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Deja Vu was one of my favorite albums.
Still love that album.
Jimmy Buffett, I think I get a lot of my writing style. He loved all those internal rhymes and stuff, and so it's a pretty diverse, and like I said, I was in all sorts of bands, but anything I'd write from the time I was 19 on, it was country. I just didn't realize it. I'd take it to the bands and they'd go, it's good, but what is that? Oh, I don't know. It's not what we do. So I just had a whole sock drawer full of, these songs. And it wasn't until I joined a country band in San Diego. They were all out having a cigarette during a break. And I started fiddling around, futzing around on an old song I wrote. And they're all like, what is that? And next thing I know, they're doing a bunch of my originals. And again, Mickey Newberry knew I was writing country music when I was 19 years old, but I was too stupid to know. So,
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
That is such a cool story. It really is. It really is. Well, again, last night we had a great show at Cumberland Grill. You guys were just tremendous.
Thank you.
And when you're sitting next to the guy that wrote "Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer,"
yeah,
I mean, how are you going to outshine that? But you had this song that you played that had everybody's attention, and there's a great video of this too. And so it's a Christmas song, but it's a story song that's just absolutely incredible. That will give you chills. Tell me a little bit about the Wooden Sheriff's Gun.
Sure. The song, we probably wrote this about 15, 17 years ago. I wrote it with a kid named Frank Rishi. He was a kid then. Now he's a grown man. But Frank and I met. He was in a band called Gypsy that played at Layla's all the time.
Okay.
And I just, when I first moved to town, I was blown away by this band. It's him and three of his sisters, and just the harmonies and their just the way they approach songs was so powerful to me. And I went up to him and during a break and I said, "Man, my name's Scott and I just moved into town and you don't know me from Adam, but I'm dying to write with you. I love what you're doing." Wow. And he goes, "Okay, let's write."
Wow.
Well, I didn't know this, but they had just signed a major label deal. And so later when I found that out, I'm like, "Why did you agree to write with me?" And he goes, "Because you weren't pushy. You didn't come in and say, 'I heard you got a deal. Here's a song you got to do,' or anything like that. Yeah. It was just, I'm genuinely in love with you guys, and I want to create something with you." And at the time, I was almost 40, and he was maybe 19. Lily Mae, his sister Lily Mae, has become quite a very accomplished indie artist, and she was 13 at the time.
Wow.
But so he and I got together and wrote a song just like that. And you
doesn't always happen.
You have a lot of writing appointments where it's pretty much a staring contest.
Yeah, we call it co-staring.
Co-staring, yeah.
Right.
But he and I we just fired up a song, and he goes, "Wow, is it always this easy?" And I go, "No." And so every time we got together, we just write something. And so this song, we wrote it, and I don't even. It was so long ago, Dave. I don't remember where it came from, but I think it was just the idea of I wanted to write. Something that felt like a song that had been written 100 years ago, and a Christmas song that wasn't pandering or I wanted it to be an Old West saga, and we just gelled on it, and then we tried to record it a couple of times with people, and we just couldn't get it, and then I finally reached out to him a few years ago and said, "Why don't just me, you, and your sisters get together?" And it was around this time of year, and we went with a producer that they've worked with, and I was really pleased with the. It was a whole different type of recording, but we had such a good time. Wow. We had such a good time, and
it shows.
Yeah.
And the video is so cool too.
Thank you.
A little bit about that.
Well, that's why the song, like I said, we wrote it probably 3 years ago. But I'd been waiting to animate a video because I love videos, like I was saying earlier, and I couldn't find any way to live action this. Let's go back to the fact that I'm a cheap son of a gun. There's no way, given my budget, I could do this and make it look not stupid.
Yeah.
So I said, we got to go animation. And the first couple of avenues I worked with didn't work. One, it was just way too expensive. Yeah. And then the next time, the people just kind of went away and disappeared on me.
Mm-hmm. I've had that happen.
Yeah. But now there's AI. So that video was done using AI.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And was super affordable. And, you got to work really hard at explaining the parameters to the program. Mm-hmm. But I was so pleased with how it turned out, and it kept that feel and that look that I wanted.
You have to check it out, folks. It's on your YouTube channel. Right?
It is. Just Google, just type in Scott Southworth on your search bar or something like that.
Yeah, check it out. Please do. We're available on YouTube too, by the way, and although we're not a video podcast as of yet, we're still talking about that. Please like and subscribe, by the way. I remind you to do that because that does help us. We're celebrating here in January SCP 500K now around the world, and
wow.
We're really happy about that.
What does all those numbers mean? What is an SCP?
Songwriter Connection Podcast.
Okay.
500.
SC.
Uh-huh.
I thought you said SEP.
Oh,
so, what's that?
Yeah, 500K. 500,000 worldwide listeners. So, anyway, that's thanks to you for spreading it all around and everything. So, back to Scott and this great song. And even if you don't see the video, close your eyes, unless you're driving. And this video will come to life to you as you listen to this song. Scott Southworth is our guest. So well done.
He was a lawman in Texas, and he always got his man. The year was 1883, snow was falling Christmas Eve, and the trail was closing in. He knew he'd find his runner in that patch of trees, probably scared to death and just about to freeze. But I came out hands up in the air with a grin from ear to ear, and I was holding a wooden sheriff's gun. I was holding a wooden sheriff's gun. I said, I'm sorry for the goose chase. I couldn't go to jail until I got this done. And I know you've heard it all before, sir, but could you please take this to my son? He's a good boy, the only thing I've done right. And he still believes that magic comes on Christmas night. And when he wrote to Santa Claus, the only thing that he asked for was a wooden sheriff's gun. Was a wooden sheriff's gun. Silent night, holy night, that lawman had me dead to rights, but he said it's a 2-day ride back to jail. Maybe we could stop and you could give it to the boy yourself on the way. Well, my wife burst into tears when I walked through that door, and that little boy jumped right into my arms. I introduced the lawman to my family. He said, pleased to meet you, but we can't stay long. Well, my wife said, you both look half frozen from the cold, and I'll have Christmas dinner on the table for you know. And that little boy, he ran all around with a grin from ear to ear when I handed him his wooden sheriff's gun. When I handed him his wooden sheriff's gun. Silent night, Holy night, that lawman had me dead to rights, but he sat down at our table and broke bread. And when he offered to say grace, well, we all bowed down our head and said a prayer. Our boots are dry, belly's full, it's time to hit the trail. I saddled up my horse for one last ride. My wife packed some food, held me tight, not wanting to let go. And that lawman looked my son right in the eye. He said, we'll be gone for a while, me and your dad. Yeah, we still got a lot of bad guys left to catch. And then he pulled the star right off his vest and he gave it to my son. You need a badge to draw a wooden sheriff's gun. Boy, you need a badge to draw a wooden sheriff's gun. Silent night, holy night, that lawman had me dead to rights. When he locked me up, I proudly shook his hand, because he gave me one more night to be a dad and a hero to my son, with a wooden sheriff's gun. The silent night, a holy night.
Does that not paint a picture? Oh my gosh. The imagery. It's like I said, I close my eyes and I can just see the whole thing happening. It's
Well, Randy Brooks, who wrote Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, he is very, very complimentary to that song. And the first time he heard it, he said, that's a screenplay. He goes, I just watched the whole movie.
Yeah, he's right.
Which, well, you know, but that's easy to do when you got a song that's almost 18 minutes long. I mean, come on, that's like a one half of a 70s album.
No, it doesn't play that long at all. Just great. Fantastic. And I'm sure there's going to be folks, that's what I love about podcasts, you can back it up and play it again.
Right.
Yeah.
Beep.
Beep. Let's do it. Live around the dining room table. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure.
I'd be remiss not to mention your radio and television career. You had a show here in Nashville for a long time.
Career is a strong word, Dave. But no, I did do radio. I hosted a show called The Music Row Show. It was very similar to this. We talked about the craft and the art of making music with hit writers and
producers. You did it on The Legend.
We did it on the 650 AM on WSM for the last 5 years. The first 5 years we did it on another legend on WLAC.
Nashville. And John R.
Yeah, and you know, had the pleasure to, you know, interview anybody from we interviewed Dolly Parton 3 times.
How about that?
Little Richard was one of my favorites. The Little Richard one was special to me because that week, well, first off, he was so happy that afterwards his management called and asked if Heino and I would MC his concert at the Opry Hall.
No way.
He was so pleased with the interview, and I said, yeah, we'd be honored to.
Absolutely.
But that week, a program director, just out of the blue, I got a phone call. Is this Scott Southworth? Yeah. And he goes, from the Music Row Show? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I'm so-and-so, and I'm a program director somewhere in Georgia. And I said, oh, cool, nice to meet you. And he goes, I just want to tell you, I ended up listening to your show with Little Richard. And he goes, that was the most remarkable hour I've ever heard, because Little Richard didn't show up.
What?
It wasn't Little Richard. Richard Penniman came and talked music.
There you go.
For an hour.
I got you.
There was no woo. There was no shut up. There was none of the theatrics.
Yeah.
we
got
talked
to the real
we talked
guy.
to Richard and just talked songwriting and talked music, and
I got to hear that now. Is it out there anywhere?
One of these days. One of these days. They were, but it's a whole thing.
Wow.
It's a whole thing. But yeah, one of these days we'll get that back on because
cool.
It was a really special thing for me.
And you did it on TV for a while, too.
It was on TV, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that I'm hosting a TV show now on the Country Road Network. It's called Gorilla Country.
Gorilla Country.
And not gorilla like the animal, gorilla like the rebels. It's similar to, as I was talking about, shining a light on all those artists.
Love it.
The TV show is an old school style video show, like that first year of MTV before they had any budget. Oh, yeah. And all we do is play traditional indie artists who are out there making this great music and making video content. And the first season's out, half of the second season's shot, so we're going to be taping the rest of it here shortly for season 2. And
we can find it where?
On the Country Road Network. Country Road Network. Yeah. Network. And, which is like on a road. You can get your Country Road TV. You can go to the Roku, and you can type it in. They got a 30-day free trial. Cool. And what's cool about this, I'll tell you this. I've done a lot of 30-day free trials, and then you forget all about it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're spending $19.99 a month or something like that. Yeah. With them, as I was getting close to the end of my trial, they were sending me emails saying, you only have a few more days.
I love it.
And they actually let you know. Wow! So that was kind of nice.
That's rare.
Yeah. So that's available, and it's just a fun way to show off my friends and other people that have just really coming out with great music.
Yeah, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
Now you also do a YouTube live thing on Fridays?
I do a YouTube live on Friday mornings at 7 a.m., and I do it at 7 a.m. for 2 reasons. One, there's very little competition at 7 a.m. Not a lot of people singing at 7 in the morning. And also it's around lunchtime for my friends in Europe.
That's right. Yeah,
or it's 11 o'clock at night for my Australian and New Zealand friends. But it's a time that... people
works for everybody.
Yeah, and what's crazy, of course, when I was doing it, I started doing it during the quarantine, and like everybody, and there would be hundreds of people watching. Now it's you don't have that many, but all these people that are still watching on Fridays, they're all talking to each other, and it's Jussi in Finland and Diane in England and Trevor in Australia, and they've all gotten to know each other, and it's like, hey, how did your move go? How's your new house? How's this? And we're all just kind of conversing and hanging out.
Bringing people together through music, Yeah.
That's it, which, if I may, there's a song on this album called Country No Matter What Country that I wrote I wrote with your Cincinnati pal, Bill White.
Ah, Bill. Love him. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he brought that idea to me, and we wrote it, and I thought it was a good song, but I couldn't figure out what to do with it. Mm-hmm. And the more I listened to it in my head, I go, you know what this should do? I reached out, because I've been touring since, I turned 50 or so. I've been touring all over Europe, and I've played gigs with all sorts of great country artists that are based in all these countries. So I got 6 indie artists from Ireland, Switzerland, England, France, New Zealand, and somewhere else. Oh, and Norway.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
And everybody has the same amount of lines. And so that song it's 7 indie artists from 7 different countries, and the name of the song is Country No Matter What Country. It doesn't matter where you are. Country music is country music. Right. And it's something I'm really proud of. It was probably, I've never spent that much time or money recording a song, because it was hurting all those cats of, you try to get 2 artists together, much less 6 or 7 of them.
I'll bet.
But it's the end result was something that I'm very proud of, and it's been.
Do you know
nice
what?
For me.
I was going to say, maybe we should just take it out with the recorded version of that so we can hear it.
Absolutely, you could hear all the different voices.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
All right, Country No Matter What Country. And let's try to play this here. How about that? Scott Southworth.
There it is.
From the record.
No matter where you are, When you hear a steel guitar, it might make you cry and hit you deep inside. When the bow hits the fiddle,
That's New Zealand.
you tap your toes just a little.
Here's Ireland.
If there's a neon glow and the beer's as cold,
That's country.
Norway.
You can bet your boots all around the world.
England.
It's 3 chords and the truth.
Oh, yeah.
when you hear Hank sing
England. No, Ireland.
about that misery,
Here comes France.
That's country. No matter what country you're in.
Country with a French accent. I love it.
It's the opera show playing on the radio. It's a pulled that gate, hanging on for 8. When you're bending on the telly and that rhythm's rocking steady, just like a midnight train. Can you hear that swing? That's country. You can bet your boots all around the world. Oh, it's 3 chords and the truth.
George and Tammy sing about that tiny golden ring.
That's country. No matter what country you're in. When all the plane on the road again, on the road again. That's country, no matter what country you're in. I tell you that's country, no matter what country you're in.
Scott Southworth, written with Bill White, our buddy. That's
There
great.
you go.
Bill's had a couple cuts on this. I was looking over some of the writers on this. He also wrote with Jan Buckingham.
Yes,
Good for her.
yes.
I love me some Jan. She's
Me
amazing.
too.
Yeah.
That-
It's a great record, man. And I'm looking through some of the people that have played on this record. Joe Spivey.
Oh, yeah.
Legend. And Dan Dominski. Really?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
funny. I didn't know he was going to be there, and I'm sitting there looking. He was in the isolation booth, and I finally go, "Holy cow, that's
really-
Dan Tominski."
Wow.
Yeah, but that was in the middle. We were recording this in the middle of the pandemic, so they weren't working.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
They
well,
weren't touring.
Yeah.
And they needed to make that $50 same as everybody else does, right?
Absolutely.
So, it was a weird time, and I was able to take advantage and not take advantage, but be the recipient of that extra amazing talent that happened to be available.
Well, speaking about amazing talent, thank you. Scott Southworth,
thank
our guest.
you, man. Thank
His
you.
latest record coming around to Honky Tonk. I highly recommend it. It's a fantastic record.
Thank you.
Sound, great songs and everything. And good to get to know you a little bit better too, Scott. Thank you so
man.
much.
Yeah, let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Always
All
welcome.
right.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriter Connection podcast. Find us on social media at Songwriter Connection. Also, listen to Dave Lanahan's Nashville Connections radio show. It streams live every Friday morning on WOBL and WNOI. Look for us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next time on Songwriter Connection.